How's everybody doing? God bless. Hope you're all doing well. Yes, I've been talking about this. This is what I see. This would happen. I had some, you always have one or two smart comments. Somebody always wants to be smart, and then they put their comment. They never put a comment when it's a positive comment. But let's go for somebody else, because this is what my video, I said I was going to make a video on this. And right here, you want to be wishful thinking and think something would have to happen first, or Babylon would be destroyed before this happening. I just show you the Bible verses. It's very black and white what's going to happen. Has anybody else talked about this? Because I've been talking about this for a few days. I've been watching for Damascus. I've been saying this for weeks, actually. Here's the date right here. I'm putting it out. Like I said, here you go. The Bible says that there's nothing new under the sun. What happened before will happen again. There's nothing new under the sun. Before, when I was talking about Damascus and I was looking at Assad, these articles didn't even come out. If anybody can't see this, they are blind. That this is going to happen, and this is exactly what the Bible says is going to happen. That's in Jeremiah right here. Assyria first, the king of Assyria. This is also in Isaiah right here. The burden of Damascus, behold, it will taken away from a city. This is impending judgment, before judgment happens. It says right here, Ephraim, which most people know that Ephraim is ceased from Ephraim. This is Babylon, the United States, and the kingdom from Damascus, and the remnant of Syria. The glory of the children of Israel talks about Israel again, the Lord of hosts. It shall come to pass, right here. And it will come to pass, the glory of Jacob, as I showed in my last video. So, does anybody else starting to talk about this? Yes, there is. This just came out today because Jonathan Kahn can see the same thing as what I've been talking about. This is right here. It says, the appointed destiny. This is the end. And what does he say?
Please pray for those who lost people in this, and for the Lord to use it. That's the first thing. 7 of the attackers were killed, and including 6 of them who blew themselves up with suicide bombs, and they shouted Allahu Akbar as they did this. God is great, which is the Islamic cry. And the one claiming responsibility was ISIS of this. Now, you mentioned, the Pope said that this is part of Third World War now. It was the worst violence in France or in Paris since
The Pope just came out and said World War III has started. I put that on my channel. You've seen that.
War II. It's the first time since. Actually, this month is the 70th anniversary of Nuremberg, the trials at the end of the war. Wow. But this is now. So now the thing is,
Haman, and that goes back to Haman. I did videos on that.
Significance.
Okay.
In Nuremberg, what happened before will happen again. I went over that 2 times about Haman and how it was the same as the Nuremberg trials. Perry Stone has a video on that also.
The Harbinger. First of all, going back to this is totally within the prophetic pattern and template of the Harbinger. The second Harbinger, for those who know.
That's for now, Harbinger, before judgment, before God's judgment.
Know it, or those who don't, is the terrorist, the Harbinger of the terrorist. Right. And that is that in the last days of ancient Israel, here with a nation that has fallen from God, God allowed.
Nation that's fallen from God, just as I said, and this is why I was using Jeremiah 50. If your sheep are scattered, it means that they are falling from God in he would bless them. He would bless them with a righteous king if he would bless them with a righteous king if they were doing God's will, which anybody knows about Israel. They're not. Anyway, like I said, this is exactly what it's talking about here. Just before impending judgment.
Allows a strike of terror on the land. And it's a warning, it's a wake-up call. God's not with those people. He's against the terrorists. They are enemies of God. But he allows it to, he removes the hedge, allows it to happen as a wake-up call there.
He allows it to happen. That's in Revelations also. Right here. It says, God will put in their hearts to fulfill his will and agree and to give up their kingdom to the beast until the God's will be fulfilled. And that down here it talks about they burn him with fire. Right here. The woman which they saw was a great city that reigned over the earth, and they burned her with fire. They burn her flesh right here. Make her eat, right here. They burn her flesh with fire. This is what God's putting in their will to accomplish his will right here, to destroy Babylon. This is not God's judgment. God's judgment doesn't come until verse 18:21. An angel from heaven throws a stone. So this happens first. There's two events. Babylon's destroyed with fire right here. And then the stones throw, God's judgment right here. So this is the harbinger before God's judgment. He lets somebody fulfill his will by letting them do it.
With a nation that has fallen from God,
America
God allows
too.
a strike of terror on the land. And it's a warning, it's a wake-up call. God's not with those people. He's against the terrorists. They are enemies of God. But he allows it to, he removes the hedge, allows it to happen as a wake-up call there. And the people who did this, the people who of the Harbinger, the people of Isaiah's time, the people of this whole template that's now has replayed in America, are the Assyrians.
There you go. The Assyrians are the ones that are harbinger all through the Bible for upcoming judgment. And this will happen. It's happened all through the Bible, and it will happen again.
The Assyrians, which, and just a note, there are Christians in Assyria who call themselves the Assyrians as well. Not to be confused with them. They are persecuted by the others. But the ancient pagan Assyrians are literally the fathers of terrorism. It all begins with them, which are the people in Isaiah. In the Bible, these are the people who invented terrorism, gave it to the world, and that's the people who are being allowed to make a strike by God in the book of Isaiah at the time. The beginning of the Harbinger template begins with terrorists. So they are the first ones. They invented it.
So in this time, the judgment comes on the Assyrians first. In the end time, God will he's taken away the Assyrian. He's finally acting, and the first strike comes to Assyria, which is right here. This is the first thing. God lets the recompense from Israel on their head. This is the harbinger to the end times. This is the harbinger to the end times. So in the end times, God's going to let Israel avenge on Syria, and this is the harbinger that comes before Babylon's destroyed.
What is terrorism? Terrorism is a strategy of using terror to accomplish your purpose. It's using it as a strategy to accomplish your end, to make people do things because you terrorize them. Right. And that you actually see them. Remember the time when Jerusalem is surrounded, King Hezekiah is in the city, and the ones who have surrounded them are the Assyrians. Now, the Assyrians had just destroyed the northern kingdom. That's the Harbinger. When they turned away from the warning, they were destroyed. Okay, so now they come down to Jerusalem. Now, Jerusalem has a righteous king. It shows the difference of righteous leaders. So they surround.
Just what I was talking about right here. They don't have a righteous king. The sheep are going to be scattered. They don't have a righteous king. They are all evil. But this is the same thing, and then judgment happens. If they had a righteous king and America had a righteous king, God wouldn't have to step in and this would never happen. But this is all, God knew this was going to happen.
They say, we're going to destroy you. Well, what they do, it's recorded in 2 Kings 18. It says they went to the walls there and they started shouting out in Hebrew so the people could understand it. And it says that what are you trusting in, basically? The Assyrian representative says, do not trust. Has any God stood against us? No God has done it. No city has stood against us. We have destroyed everything. So give up, give in, let us take over because we will destroy you. Well, that right there, what you read in 2 Kings 18, in the time of Isaiah, that you see the tactics of the Assyrians. This is terrorism. What they're using right here is psychological terrorism.
Yeah.
What they're doing is saying, basically, you have to do what we say because otherwise we'll destroy you. What the Assyrians did is they actually would parade victims to the cities they wanted to conquer, and those cities would just give up because they didn't want to fall into the terror of the Assyrians. So that is the beginning of terrorism. Every terrorist in the world is related to the Assyrians in one way or the other. Every terrorist in the world, it comes from their father's art, the trials at the end of the war. But this now, you mentioned, the Pope said this is 7 of the attackers were killed. Allahu Akbar. As they did this, God is great, which is the Islamic cry. And the one claiming responsibility was ISIS of this. Now, you mentioned, the Pope said this is, since World War II. It's the first time since, actually, this month is the 70th anniversary of Nuremberg, the trial. Totally within the prophetic pattern and template of the Harbinger. The second
Harbinger, just as I've been talking about, the Harbinger, the Harbinger of upcoming judgment.
Harbinger, for those who know it or those who don't, is the terrorist. The Harbinger of.
The Harbinger is the first Harbinger. This Harbinger of upcoming judgment is Syria, just as I said. Anybody that can't see this is blind. It's like I said this months ago, and now other people are coming to realize it. As I said right here, that's why he's talking about it. He sees it upcoming judgment, as he says right here in the Harbinger to upcoming judgment is Syria. God is finally going to let Israel take out Syria, and this is going to be the upcoming judgment. This is also right here, talks about it right here in Isaiah 17. Ephraim is the United States, and then the harvest comes. Right here. It says right here, they shall be as a glory to the glory of the children of Israel. This is in Isaiah 17. As I said also, this right here, when America's bombed, says right here, they will burn her, make her desolate. Jonathan Cahn's talking about the same thing. This is when Babylon is judged by God. Jesus will throw the stone. It's Revelation 18. As I showed you, they're going to bomb his palace. And it's not a ruinous heap yet, as I said. It says right here, this would be judgment, and this would be the harbinger before upcoming God's judgment, as Jonathan Cahn also said. It says it'll be taken away from a city, a ruinous heap. and this hasn't happened before, as I said, because there's still a city. There's also palaces there, as I showed you. The stone right here is Syria, and as I said before, just as Jonathan Kahn alluded to, nothing new under the sun. He said this would happen before, it happens again. Hey, he talked about the Bible verses in the video that I had right here. He also talked about Nuremberg, which is also Haman, goes back to Haman. I could do videos on that, which I already have. God bless. I hope you're all doing well. This is my video. I'm going to put it on my backup channel first. Let's see. Still watching to see what happens. I've been watching Damascus very closely and Israel. This goes with this video right here. I said I would have a longer version. If you want to put them together, you can watch that one. God bless.